And it says we're live. I guess we're live.
It
So
is.
welcome back to Everything EOS, the longest running EOS podcast. I am your host, Zack Gall, and I have an echo in my ear of the video from my YouTube tab. I'm here with Yves La Rose, the co-founder of the #2 voted block producer in the entire world on the EOS public network with 325 million votes, $1.5 billion worth of tokens. I think I already said your name, but if I didn't, I am here with Yves La Rose. What's up, man?
What's up? How's it going, man? I love the enthusiasm.
It's great.
I feel
man.
like I'm at a wrestling match. Like
it is, dude. It is wrestling. It's you got to get hyped for this stuff, man.
It's pretty crazy.
People expect us to bring the heat today. I want to
You
get
are
into
bringing
voice.
the heat.
We tested something before we went live. We are going to let Yves have his first impression of voice via me and my account. I'm going to share my screen with Yves later on in this podcast, and we're going to see his genuine reactions on voice. I'm going to let him comment on people's posts on my behalf, and we're going to get into it. But first, we got to get into the mainnet, man. There's been so much going on. This is the stuff that nobody else is privy to because nobody else is in the top 21 except for you right now, my friend. So I saw the blog article yesterday. I'm going to pull it up on the screen, but I'll just let you start talking now.
Yeah, so like thanks for the intro, man. That's awesome. If you couldn't see from when Zack said it earlier, we just before starting recording here, just before going live here, he gave me a glimpse to see if I could control his screen through my PC, and yeah, I'll get a chance to play with voice. I got like a 2-second chance to see, and so I'm genuinely really excited about this.
Reaction for this.
It's gonna be a genuine reaction because I've seen the posts and stuff, but I haven't played around with it. I'll get my chances. I'm super excited for that.
You know I'm excited about?
It's early morning here.
Post this video on voice to get some voice.
Nice. Nice.
We'll get into voice. I really want to get into mainnet though, because everyone's been talking about voice all weekend. It's almost redundant at this point, but we're going to hammer him with it anyway. I really want to know what's been going on with the mainnet because I don't think people understand the amount of collaboration that's going on amongst all the top 21.
It's crazy. Like so it's early morning now. I've been in Japan now for 3 months to be a little bit closer to Asia, to go around and ensure that everything on this end is working well. Obviously, with us being in the top 21, there's an opportunity there to just strengthen the bonds. In Asia, being in a closer time zone just makes things easier to be able to collaborate, reach consensus on certain ideas that we've been working on that I think we'll touch upon later on in the show. And one of the things is, over the last 2 months, 3 months or so, there's been some issues with the mainnet that people perceived, right? We were seeing essentially what it is like flooding conditions, just an absurd amount of transactions trying to get through. And I'll try to give some analogies on what that is. But we did publish an article trying to summarize a little bit of everything the other day. You're pulling it up there. And essentially, because of the time zone difference, I've been going to bed at 3 or 4 in the morning daily and waking up really early. So I only got a couple of hours of sleep last night. So I apologize if I look like I just woke up, because I did maybe 15, 20 minutes ago. And really what it's been, it's just been a crazy amount of work in the back end. Now, I'm not the engineer, that's Matt. So all the credit for everything I'm talking about today really goes out to Matt, our CIO, who's the one in the back end doing all of these changings in partnership with Block.one and the other top 21, really ensuring that the back end work that is really solid and is able to handle essentially all of the transactions that are trying to be pushed on mainnet. And the best way that I can explain it is prior to, let's say, early November, give or take early November, we were receiving, give or take, 40 million transactions a day. And we were able to, do that. And the way I can picture it is like, imagine that there was a big venue, there's a big, a big hall or a big convention hall or something like that. And everybody was outside lining up really, really nicely, one by one, all behind each other. And they all have their ticket to come in, and basically let them in one at a time. So we're able to handle 40 million people coming in, but they're all lining up really, really pretty. And all those people are, they're simple people. There's nothing wrong with them. All their tickets are good. Nobody lost their ticket. Nobody forgot their IDs. There's nothing wrong with it. Everything is really, really nice. And with the coming of the mining that happened and the sheer amount of transactions that were being pushed as of November, imagine that it's the same condition. So we're still, even to this day, roughly processing 40 million transactions per day. But the really big difference is there's no lineup now. The people aren't lining up nicely one by one. It's flooding conditions. And so we're talking about like there's one door or two doors to get through, and now people are just scattered. It's a mega parking lot, just full mob worth of people that are just trying to come in. Some of them have their tickets, some of them don't, some of them in groups of 10 people, some of them are alone. So the transactions themselves are way more complex, and there's just so many of them. And we have to filter out everything. So we're not filtering what kind of transactions, but we have to process them in order. And working in these flooding conditions is what really, really stressed out the mainnet. And why that's a good thing, and why like this over the last 2 months, the level up, let's say, the amount of experience that the block producers got, but not just the block producers themselves, but the software, the hardware, Block.one, basically running through this actual ongoing, because it's not done, we're still in flooding conditions, running through this kind of state of the mainnet, and being able to handle things accordingly, properly, efficiently, and by things I mean the transactions, basically going through that state and going through that series of events is incredibly important, because the mainnet will always now, like I don't foresee a time where we're not in flooding conditions. A time where there's not tons of people trying to get into this venue at the same time. And so in order to be able to process transactions more efficiently, we need to kind of always now run in a normal state, which is a flooding state. And going to that is like 2 months worth of work.
This is where we always expected to be, though, with flooding conditions. We didn't expect it like this year.
Yeah, but you can't simulate that on a test net. You can't simulate the human behavior. I mean, you can simulate certain situations on a test net, and you try to simulate it as much as possible. But the real world kind of mess that happens, which is basically the state that we're in, the real world, you can't really simulate that. That we knew it was going to come at some point, but we couldn't really prepare for it. The software couldn't prepare for it. The hardware could prepare for it, which is why we started off with the hardware. So we went through a series of very concrete steps to try and isolate the problem. First of all, to try and figure out like what's going on, what can we do with this so that everything runs smoothly? Because that's at the end of the day, we need to have a mainnet that whatever comes its way, it can handle it. And so going through those steps, going through kind of the different iterations, removing the variables, making changes at different levels, either the hardware, software, even architecture. So we've even changed the way that we actually process blocks. And then making improvements to the core code itself, like all of that in parallel in a decentralized fashion and in asynchronous time, because we've got people in all time zones where certain things require certain steps to be taken at certain times by certain actors, but you're in a decentralized fashion. We went through Christmas, New Year, Chinese New Year, coronavirus, like all of this nonstop. It's insane the amount of work that's going on, the coordination and the amount of work that's going on by everybody. And it's not something that only a few people can do. It's not like EOS Nation is doing it alone. Everybody has to do it. Everybody's got to participate. Everybody's got a role to play. Now, obviously, all of the different top 21 are maybe not putting in the same, they don't have the same competencies or the same, I guess, strengths. And so certain people focus on certain parts of the work, and certain people are more proactive in certain parts, reactive on certain parts, but it requires 100% of the people. And even we saw that throughout the process, we also needed backups. And so the SVPs that were close by helped out. We also brought in some key technical folks that we knew were really, really strong that could help out. So those people also came in to kind of try to help out the state that we're in, that we're going to continue to be in. However, if you notice, like if you showed your screen, we saw at some point it was becoming really unstable. We were missing blocks, missing rounds, And now it's back down to like, we're able to efficiently, I think yesterday, it was the first day in a long time, 0 microforks, which is huge. 0 microforks is a system running perfectly.
So about a week or two ago, everything was really bad. I was like doing double transactions on Nudex, and that was the micro forks happening. What exactly was happening there? I think that's what this is. That what this graphic up on the screen kind of?
No, so that's the new kind of architectural design that we're using in the background in terms of how block producers share information and process information. So how do we filter out information? By filter, I don't mean filter as in censor. I mean, how do you organize the information so that you can process it more efficiently? So that's the kind of schema right there. If you go up, I think it's at the beginning, the red and blue. Yeah, go up, up, up. There you go. That thing, right? So that's the amount of missed blocks and missed rounds. Now, the graphic here only starts in January, but if we actually go back to November is when it really started. And we're talking about like each of those data points are 1 day. So they represent 1 day. And so that's another one that you see. I guess I'm seeing it at a lag of what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm looking for where on Aloha could I see those missed blocks?
So you'd have to go to tools. And it's going to be block producer performance. Reliability tracker. There you go. The reliability tracker.
So
and big shout out to Aloha EOS for providing basically these tools. Look at this. Like, just look how crazy that is.
Wow.
And even if you just actually zoom out just for the fun of it, time frame right now, you got 3 months. Do all time. Boom. So you see when mainnet launched, obviously we were getting a handle on things. Software at that period, it's more software optimization, obviously hardware optimization as well, but it's really like a lot of multiple iterations. And so since September 2018, by the graphs, you can see that the mainnet was running pretty smoothly. Essentially because, hardware had been optimized, software in general had been optimized, the amount of transactions, like I was saying, everybody was lining up properly, there was no really flooding conditions. November starts, boom, we start having crazy transactions, November 2019. And then if you look at January, boom, miss rounds start.
Blocks.
Yeah, miss blocks, right? And then we get miss rounds as well. So at some point it was some block producers, and this is not to the fault of their own, so they do share some responsibility, obviously, but some block producers at some point were missing like 60% of all blocks, 70% of all blocks sent their way. So when you, as a user on your end, essentially are trying to use Nudex or you're trying to use an application, and your transaction's simply not going through, and you have to re-click on it, re-click on it, re-click on it, and it just either doesn't get processed or it gets completely rejected. That's the user experience that I'm talking about in flooding conditions that we just couldn't handle. There's just too many people at the door.
Working through these problems, who was one of the top software supporters ever? And I'm talking about Block.one.
Block.one, man. it's so just to give you an idea, like when I said earlier that we went through Christmas, we went through New Year, because I'm mentioning those two and not Chinese New Year because Block.one staff typically are Western folks. And so during the Christmas period, during New Year's period, there wasn't one day that we weren't on the line on a daily basis with Block.one. Whether it be like Sunday night, Monday morning, on Christmas Day, the next day after, Boxing Day, whatever, New Year's Eve, every day we're in chats and we're sending logs to Block.one. We're putting in some issues into GitHub. They're working on it. We can see, like, this is public. Everybody can go and see.
No, you froze up. Uh-oh. I think I might have lost him. I think I might be by myself. Yves, come back. All right, I'm just going to continue on my own here. So the reason I wanted to bring up all of the mainnet stuff beforehand, give Yves a second. The reason I wanted to bring it up is because we always talk. Come on, man. All right, it's because we always talk about the obviously the. Hold on, let me pull it up. The show must go on, Phoenix. You're right, man. The transition here, we had a transition plan. It was to basically bring up the whole where will voice be hosted question. Obviously, we're in the beta. For the beta, nobody expected to be on the mainnet. I don't know how long the beta is going to last, but in the FAQ of voice, this has been public for a while. It says, where will voice be hosted? And it says, well, voice is in beta and in a highly iterative state. It'll be run on a purpose-made EOS.io blockchain, and in time, they would like voice to leverage the EOS public blockchain and potentially others that can meet the performance and governance demands of voice. So pretty much the point we're trying to make here is that the EOS public blockchain is collaborating and doing everything in their power to meet the performance and governance demands. Eve and I were talking about this before we went on the air about what we think it means by governance demands. So whenever you think of governance demands, on one hand, you might think of like governance, like the voting and like the 1 token 1 vote or the 1 token 30 votes. But what we think is governance is like, how quickly could you upgrade the system if there's a problem? And that's what Block.one and the top 21 have been doing throughout the last month is kind of collaborating and fixing bug after bug after bug. I obviously can't explain all of these different patches and upgrades that went on the mainnet. But according to Eve, there's a group chat of, I think, the top 22 block producers, and that's because 21 and 22 rotate so frequently. But everyone's in communication. Nobody's slouching. Anytime there's been a critical patch that needed updated, it's been done within like 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever that time frame was. So they're proving that they're able to be agile here and be able to patch updates quickly. And I wish Eve was here to raw take. Yeah, I'll just I'm off my game here, so I'll just read Phoenix's questions here. Raw take, first impressions of voice. Raw take was that I love the voice it game. So basically being able to voice up people's posts to get it to the top. The mechanics of it is super addictive. So basically, I had like the worst writer's block over the weekend, so I wasn't able to think of anything great to write. So the only ways to earn voice tokens are to either, Eve, you're back. Let me get you in here. I was dying in here. Hold on, I gotta allow him to talk. He's back, everybody.
Crazy.
All right, so I gotta fill you in a little bit here. Block.one and the top 21 basically super collaborative through Christmas, through New Year's, through all of the micro forks, through all of the problems. It's basically been 24/7, almost like a dedicated support team in a way.
Oh yeah, Block.one's been great. I mean, things were getting so hot here, my computer couldn't even handle it, so it kicked me out. It actually froze. Terrible. That's how hot things were getting.
So I told everyone the point I was trying to make is that the EOS public network is doing everything they can to meet the performance and governance demands for voice and just for ourselves. We want to have a functioning public network here.
Oh yeah.
But to get into, oh man, I'm all over the place now.
All over the place.
Yeah, because I had to go into voice because I couldn't talk about your stuff. Man, I guess we'll just have to, I guess, skip some of the other stuff. I did want to ask you about the WPS. Any updates on that? It's still ongoing on the mainnet?
So it is still ongoing. For those of you who are a little bit more detective minded, I'm sure that you can find out the portal is live. The contracts have been running on test nets now for quite some time because we've been, ensuring that everything runs smoothly. But now that the portal was hidden, now the portal's actually live. However, we're still keeping it private in the sense that we're not sharing the information right now. We're getting some key folks to actually test it out. So more on the contract side, making sure that contracts work as intentioned, making sure that the code is right, that kind of thing. And so over the next, I'd say maybe week and a half or 2 weeks, we're then going to be releasing it into the wild for basically everybody to be able to try and test out, to see kind of getting familiar with the parameters are, getting familiar with the actual platform, which is super simple. There's nothing complicated, and in hopes of eventually then putting it up as a MSIG. It's going to be a series of MSIGs. To see if the 21 agree with the concept, agree with the parameters, the general gist of it, and then hopefully the idea is that we have a functioning WPS in less than a month.
That's huge. That is huge.
Yeah,
and just remind everyone,
if you want to ask me any questions, because
people want to hear about voice. We got to get into voice, but I have one question, and that is just to remind everyone where the funding for this WPS actually comes from.
Okay, so one of the things when we did the design, we had one important variable that obviously is the most important variable. Where do funds come from, and do we have any restrictions in terms of where they can come from? So yes, obviously funds need to be sustainable, and so that was a very important design decision to make. And then no, funds cannot come from inflation. So if they can't come from inflation, but you need kind of a big chunk, a pool to be accessed, what could we do? So the funds are, and that was kind of complicated, but we're lucky with EOS because for the first, I think it was up until May, might get the dates wrong, but May 2019 or so, I think May 1st, 2019 is when Rex launched. Prior to Rex launching, all of the name fees and RAM fees went into the name fee account, the RAM fee account. When Rex launched, and since Rex has launched, all the RAM fee and name fees have been, being funneled into Rex profits. But prior to that, all the fees accumulated for a period of time. So those were administrative fees. They're basically voluntarily donated or paid for, and they're not accessed. And they can't be put into Rex because they're prior to Rex even being launched. And so we've got this pool of roughly 3.5 million EOS that's sitting there. And what we wanted to do was access funds, but not in a way where you get a full access to funds. So essentially, the way that the WPS is designed is that there's 50,000 EOS up for grabs on a monthly basis, but they're not directly from the name fee and RAM fee. Every month, the idea is that there's going to be an MSIG, so that the block producers have to decide whether or not they still agree with this system on a monthly basis. And they transfer over 50,000 EOS. So at any point in time, there's only 50,000 EOS, give or take, because there's going to be administrative fees, that kind of stuff, but in the WPS account. And then basically WPS items go up on a 30-day cycle. If whatever proposals get approved, they get paid out. Most likely, the majority of the 50,000 doesn't get used, and then it just gets top up from there.
We're getting some action in the live chat. Phoenix asks, what are some of the items on mainnet that Nation hopes to address with the WPS system? And I guess address Sonata and how this won't be a honeypot, or if you think maybe it will.
Well, it can't be a honeypot because you never have access to funds. That's the thing, is there's never, you're limited by, nobody can come out and say, I want 150,000 EOS this month to do something. That's not a thing because there's 50,000 maximum. And the way that it's set up now, if we go into too many details, but it has nothing to do with burn. This is not inflation, so that's why
what are the top?
We're going to have information. But the big thing that we want to do,
top tick
backend stuff. We still need to work on mainnet backend. We still need to improve the capabilities of EOS as a software. And so for us, the one thing that I'm still very, very much interested in is better API structures. It's more history nodes. It's, we're still using history deprecated V1 for some things. And we switched on to Hyperion, but we need more nodes for that. And we need more infrastructure for that. It would make sense to have dedicated nodes throughout the world run by really, really proficient teams. And those are not dependent on BP rewards, that kind of thing. So anyways, I don't want to go into too much detail. Okay. It's not inflation. I can see comments and it's not inflation, so you can't burn it. It's not the same.
All right. So we had a touchy subject here. We got to get into voice, man. I think instead of getting into voice all willy-nilly like we planned to, I think we just got to do the let Yves jump into it live for his first time. Are you able to, hold on, let me give you control of my mouse here.
Oh man,
it's all you, man. You should have control.
Okay. Oh man. Okay. How do I?
I don't know. I don't see my mouse.
So I can
moving.
click on the tabs that I know because that's the only thing we tried earlier. Could I click on tabs? Let me try to. I just clicked on another tab. There's obviously a delay.
Oh, this is a good one. This is a good
Oh
post here.
yeah.
This is a
Okay.
really
How do
good
I go
post.
down though? How do I actually? Oh, I'm scrolling down.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. This is awesome.
This is a good post. So this is from James Mart. This is something I wanted to talk
Oh
about. He
yeah.
actually dug through, he did like the developer tools and did some chain inspects and pulled some great information from the voice blockchain. And I guess, Eve, if you want to kind of call out some of these bullet points, we could.
Information stores the IPFS. A voice has block producer named producer Shay. Yeah, so they'd be running with run producer. So people are asking like, why aren't they running on mainnet? Because in a highly iterative state, when you're in a beta, you wouldn't want to be running. What I mean by highly iterative state is you're going to be making a lot of changes. And so if you're going to be making changes continuously, and we're talking about potentially changes, on a daily basis, multiple times a day, you don't want to have to reach consensus with 15 out of 21 block producers every time you want to make a change to your core contracts. Because I would imagine that at some point, if you truly want to have a decentralized application, you're going to need to give away those contracts to MSIG. So either you're going to null it and it's going to be basically up to the block producers, or you're going to MSIG it internally. You're going to have key trusted individuals or organizations that are going to be part of this. And so right now in a highly iterative state where you're making continual changes, you want to have just one block producer, obviously for speed and performance enhancements as well.
That's exactly what they have is one producer.
That's what they have, which is awesome. And the look of this is really nice. Like this is super clean UI. I'm really liking this. Very simple. I like that the little, I'm going to move my little thing here. I like that the comments and the likes stay. So wherever you go down, whenever I was scrolling down, that stays there. You got your voice it. I would imagine that those are your tokens. You still have.
Yeah. So my tokens, I have 3.7K. If you click that,
So you made tokens.
Yeah. So
didn't everybody start off with 3,000?
You start out with 3,000 tokens, and then you get 100 tokens per day right now.
Yeah, but it hasn't been 7 days.
No, so the voice it game, I was talking a little bit before you got back here, and there's two ways you could earn tokens. One is by playing the damn game. To play the game, here's what I'm going to take over here. So I'm just going to click on all. What you do is you find a post. So I only have 3.7K tokens. So like, I'm not going to try to voice any of these big posts. But what I try to do is you try to find a post that you think other people will enjoy and outvoice you. You want people to outvoice you. So if you guys remember
Pixel Master. Yeah.
So let's see. Shane Michael Calfee. Why decentralization is important. So it's not a deep enough post. I'm sorry.
And it's going to cost you. I see. So it's going to cost you 700 to voice that particular one. If 24 hours elapses. If nobody outvoices you, it's yours.
So this is Brendan Espinoza, former Strong Block, former Block.one guy.
Yeah, Brandon. Shout out to Brandon.
I'll voice his post. So it only cost me 14 tokens to voice it. So if no one outvoices me, big deal. I lose 14 tokens, and I'm supporting Brandon to get him more exposure. Now I am the top voice at the top of the screen.
Boom.
And if someone outvoices me, I get, what did I gamble? I gambled with 12 tokens. So I get
14.
I get my 14 tokens back
plus
a 10% profit.
Yeah.
So that's how I've been accumulating tokens. I've been a little bit more risky. Like I've caught in Dan Larimer posts with like 700 voice tokens to outvoice someone. So I'm like, wow. If someone's gonna outvoice me for Dan post. So in that case, I voiced it. I spend 700 tokens. If nobody outvoices me, I lose the tokens. But I supported Dan. If someone outvoices me, I get all 700 of my tokens back plus 70 tokens profit. But the real gainers here are the content creators. The content creators get roughly 33% of the final voice. So after 24 hours of not getting a voice, a new top voicer, the post just kind of freezes, and whoever was the top voice remains the top voice. And if you look at these numbers, like the current state of EOS blockchain, this guy's got 3.7, or holy shit, they just say 4.8 up top. So this post here, Robert, that's the dude from EOS Detroit. That's Rodrigo. He he voiced this post for 4.8 thousand voice tokens. So if
Can you
nobody
choose? You can't choose how much you voice it for, right? It's the automatic
it's
next
plus
step
10%.
in the game. Yeah.
It's previous price plus 30% actually. But the author here, since that post is up to 4.8K tokens, the author is entitled to about 33% of that. So over 1,000 tokens are being earned by this author right here in just one post. So this is the incentivization model with voice tokens. It's amazing. The authors get rewarded the most, but people like me who aren't necessarily writing a post, but they're trying to like scope out and find viral content before other people do, I could also be rewarded. I've earned almost all of my tokens by doing that. I've just been on the prowl looking for like posts from James Mart, Peter K, or Dan Larimer, basically.
See, like I'm reading this, and it says that this is awesome. First of all, I love the look, super smooth. I love kind of the general design, the general feel. I like the fact that you had the different feeds on the side, and that I can go in a particular subject. So I would imagine that when I'm creating a post, I can tag, or I can put basically a tag on what kind of post or which feed it should go in, which is very cool. So can you reply to this guy? Because he's saying like, what's the current state of the blockchain? We need Block.one to give us.
Why don't you leave him a comment and you got to cite it yourself.
Are we able to link to the article that we had before? Can you link to external links?
Yeah, of course. You can drop any link.
I mean, we should say, hey, you want to, hey, look at the current state of the blockchain. So Yves posting via Zack.
All right, here you go. You're in control, I think.
All right, let me try to. If I move my thing, can I actually write? I'm not sure if I can write. No, I don't think I can write.
Oh no.
Oh, maybe.
Can you?
Maybe. All right. I guess can you write on my behalf?
I'll write on your behalf, Yves.
Is that okay? Can you put like for an up to date look at the current status of mainnet? Check out this post. Many improvements. Much love, Yves. Yves via Zack's account. There you go. Yves via Zack's account. Live. Am I perhaps the first person outside of voice to do something in voice for sure live on camera?
This is the first Canadian to make a post.
Yeah, that's true. Oh,
on voice.
Are you going against the terms and conditions by letting a Canadian?
I think
I am. Not even in Canada, Canadian in Japan writing a post on a US only platform. I think
first time ever.
I think so.
We voiced a post, the first Canadian Japan dual citizen voice.
Yeah, there you go.
We voiced Brandon Espinoza's post there. So there's some other good stuff in here. I'm just gonna find it here. So I'm on my profile.
Settings coming soon. You got listeners. You're listening, which I guess is the equivalent of followers and following.
Ashley James Whitner, Ash Oro. Wow, his last name's Whitner. He's living a lie.
Of course. Oro is gold because he was a gold bug.
That makes sense. I didn't know that was a nickname.
Mm.
So Dan's made some great posts. And everyone on voice, you need to go look at Dan's post because he was actually posting about 3 or 4 days before voice went live. So these posts weren't really going viral.
If you stay down there, the article why a blockchain is a better application server database architecture. For those of you who want like a really condensed, he posted this on Medium as well. But if you want a really condensed, very well written sales pitch, if you're going out to applications or you're going out to businesses and you're trying to explain to them why blockchain is good, that post is awesome. A very, very well written, excellent post. So I recommend that one.
It was just like even more clear than his speech in Washington, D.C. It was like hitting all the same points though. And it was great.
Yeah.
So this post is interesting. I'm not going to click and read into it, but what could a blockchain
that's the old one.
Look like?
I think that's
he refers to his old one. He gives a link.
Oh, it's a new one.
Yeah, no one's even read this, so I'm sharing this. Actually, here we go. Wait, here's what I'm gonna do, fellas, women. I'm gonna take a full screen shot, so capture entire page. This is live, everybody. I am sharing voice with the world. I shared it with a Canadian, and now I'm going to share Dan's post. I'm going to copy the image. You guys aren't going to, you guys aren't going to see this, but in the Everything EOS Telegram channel, that's t.me/everything_EOS. I am going to share this post as an image live. There it is. So if you go into the Everything EOS Telegram channel, you'll see this post here of Dan talking about the new constitution. I'm happy to do that with any of these posts that we're going to talk about today. While just scrolling through here, I will take full screen screenshots of any of these posts that people outside of the United States and outside of voice don't have access to. There's a lot of great content. People asked earlier, what are my favorite parts of voice and maybe some least favorite parts. My favorite part is by far the quality of the content. We're not gonna have time to go through every post today, but the quality of content is really good. People are putting a lot of effort into this because they're being greatly incentivized to do so. People are realizing.
Yeah, and they have to stand behind what they write because of the KYC.
Yeah.
So we all know that now Ash is Ash Whitner, right? And so he has no choice. If he's gonna write something, he's writing it under his real name, and that makes a difference. Plus, you're incentivized to write good content with the tokenomics.
I have this. What do you mean Sonata with sound is hard? Who sounds messed up here? Sorry, guys.
Probably mine.
On this post here, it says that Dan was using the iOS voice app, so like the native app. Right now, it's just like a web-based application, but it seems like they do have an iOS app, probably in test flight, being tested internally, or potentially waiting for approval from the App Store. So I think once we get the native apps, that'll add some nice functionality. One of the things I don't like about this is I don't have push notifications. That's like a big part of social media addiction, is getting the notifications whenever you get a comment or whenever someone likes or voices your post. So I definitely want to get those. Someone asked, what was the KYC onboarding process? I was expecting that question. This girl here, Samantha Shaybani, made an amazing video. I have the link to this YouTube in the description of the video you're watching right now, this live stream. I have the link to this woman's YouTube video. And in this video, it is a complete walkthrough of the KYC. So you get to see every single screen, from whenever they're asking for your identity information, to your phone number, to your name, to your driver's license, to taking your selfie. If you want to see it the whole way through, I don't think you got to watch all 23 minutes of it, but
you could if you wanted to.
This is by far the best. I regretfully forgot to record while I was signing up, and it didn't let me go backwards. So Samantha took care of this. So if anyone's wondering about the KYC process, it was as smooth as it could possibly be for a KYC process. All right, Yves, you want to click around anymore? What are we doing here?
Yeah, well, that's I'm trying to, because of the lag, right? There's delay obviously with the screen share. But this is cool. Like, I want to go see. What I like about this is again the feed. I really like that part, that you're going to be able to tag your content. So let's say go in philosophy. Oh philosophy. No, somebody's moving around.
Yeah,
oh, you're the one moving around, obviously.
See, Pete's someone that's been ridiculous. He's been writing so many posts. Not getting much feedback. 1.1K. So the author gets 33% of all of this. So he made over 300 voice tokens here, another 300 voice tokens here.
How can you tell that those are done though? Is there a way for you to see whether it's still ongoing?
Only if you click into it and it says winning voice. So Mark Woods.
Okay, so it did win, so it's done. Okay.
Yeah. So this is beta, obviously, but like I've been talking with like Peter K and James Mart in like a different chat about like what this could potentially be. So right now, like the winning voice is Mark Edward Woods. We all know Mark Woods. He's great guy. He's been on the show before. But imagine if right now it's just people, but imagine like once companies are allowed on here and like, I think after B1 June, they announced that companies will eventually be allowed, but they're not going to earn daily voice tokens. So they only get voice tokens if they pay for them. What if like the winning voice is almost like an advertisement for that company or something? Like you could put a banner here. There's a lot of different options here. And as far as
the incentivization, I guess gamification potential with this is just huge. Like you just mentioned, if I'm a company and I'm not allowed to participate in this in the same way, or if the mechanisms for me to participate in this are different than yours. But like you said, if I'm able to, back somebody that I know clearly has a lot of supporters, and the amount of voice for a particular post has gone up, and so there's a lot of eyes, a lot of attention, and I'm willing to get some of that attention, like you said, in order to get eyes on my product or get eyes on my company or me or whatever my business, that's a cool gamification feature that I think people will go for it. Of course, why not? That's advertising, but at a much potentially cheaper cost.
Someone asked about the KYC hack. So this made a big controversy. So he won. So whenever you do this means he voiced his own post and then no one out voiced him. This is where you get kind of screwed and you end up burning a bunch of tokens. So voice also seems to be deflationary, because every time you voice a post, 33% of the 10% that gets added onto the previous bidder actually gets burned. So I think that ends up being like 3 or 4% of the total bid gets burned every single time. This is happening constantly. But what Pete did was in his profile picture here, you could kind of see the little version. It's just basically this picture, which I was actually next to him. This is in Israel, in Tel Aviv. And he put some text in the background. So this was kind of like a workaround on the KYC platform, but we did it, and I did it too. Like if you guys look at my image, this is my profile image I use on all of my social media. So we both kind of gamed the system a little bit, but it was in like a white hat hacker kind of way. Pete obviously reported it on here, and then we've been in touch with certain people from Block.one because they want us to kind of do this stuff. Like we're not trying to be malicious.
That's the whole point of a beta.
And they did say that there's going to be HackerOne bug bounties for all of you other white hat hackers out there that are trying to like just break stuff. That's what they want. So there's plenty of opportunity there. Other cool stuff. You mentioned the feeds. So these are like just the original tags here. I'll let you click around. I keep taking it over. I act like,
well, it's because I click, but it actually takes, it's just so slow. Oh, there you go. Okay.
One of the cool things that was mentioned in one of the blog articles that came out, I believe, I don't remember when it came out, but it said something about the tags. So these tags on the left, those are actually going to be for sale. There's going to be an auction system. So you think about the name bidding system on EOS, where you bid for like names, like short namespaces. But on here, there's going to be a bidding system for your own tags. So maybe there will eventually be an EOS tag, and everyone's going to compete to bid for this tag and the ownership of that domain. So the way I envision it would be like owning a community on Reddit, for example. So like who owns like the Bitcoin Reddit or whatever. I think that all of these tags are going to be for sale. And I think there might even be a way to like kind of decentralize it amongst the community. I could eventually see there being like native community tokens for each tag beyond the voice tokens. But obviously that's like a really long time away. And I don't know if it'll come from Block.one or from the community.
It's awesome. I recognize so many of these people.
Yeah,
and I'm so jealous.
Yeah,
and I'm so jealous that they get to participate in this, and I cannot yet.
So it's crazy because it kind of reminds me of the internet back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, because you don't really know who anyone is. Like even these names, like half of these people I talk to on like Telegram, and they use a different name. So, some of them not so much, but then all of like the random people, there's no bios yet. So that's I guess one of the downsides, but that's on their featureless backlog, I think they said. But if you click on any of these names here, like they don't have a profile. Adriana. Like it doesn't say like where they work, or like a little, like, you know, on Twitter you're allowed to like write like 200 characters about yourself or something. Yeah. Man, she's stacking 5K.
Yeah, man, I'm already like, I don't even have voice. I'm already going out and trying to find people, see what they're talking about. And this is the cool thing is you get to actually, at this point anyways, because there's so few people on the platform, you get to see what people thought would be the best thing to write on a new social media platform. Like, hey, what's on your mind right now?
Do you know what it was? It was cats. My first post, I only made one post. It was about cats. One of Dan Larimer's first posts were about cats.
All right, let's go stalk this. And so you've got your balance, you got your thing. I like this as well. Like you're not limited. So you put an actual big screen here, a screenshot essentially, and it actually doesn't cut it up. Like it put the full screen size.
It's nice,
which
yeah.
is very cool. And then those that have smaller image, it actually cuts it up. So see how like the difference between the height of this post versus the first post. I like that. And you got 700 for this one.
Which means since I was the author, I got what, like 200 or so, 250 maybe of that.
Yeah, you get a third, right?
Yeah. Plus I out voiced it myself a few times. So whenever you voice your own posts, since
that's right.
Okay, so the voice mechanics, the first bid's like 1. And then if Yves wants to bid on it, he would have to bid 1.3. When Yves bids 1.3, assuming I bid the first 1, I would get my 1 voice token back. And then there's this 0.3 profit here. 1/3 of it gets burned, 1/3 of it goes to the author, and then 1/3 burned, 1/3 author, and then 1/3 to the previous bidder, who was me since I was the author. If you're the author and the previous bidder, it's like you're bidding at a 66% discount. If you're the author, you're always bidding at a 33% discount.
But then you're voicing your own content, right? So essentially you're trying to promote yourself. There's a cost to it, or there's a risk, inherent risk to it, right? Because you could be caught voicing your own content too much. Nobody else cares. And you actually end up paying to voice your content, which is cool. You end up paying to voice your content, but nobody else cared. And so you end up paying a cost for that, which is awesome. So what is this, Zach? Only 2 posts, like writer's block over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You got people lining up wanting to use voice. They're all jealous because you got access. You write 2 posts. Come on, Zach. You're going to have to take some time today and write something.
I will. I'm going to post this video. It's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to spam the Everything EOS video that we're recording right now. Let me see if I can set up. Let me take control here. I got to click on
mine. Go back to it.
Oh, so I got rewards. Okay, so this is the reward system. So it says my current balance, and then I got outvoiced. So that post we voiced at the beginning of the show already got outvoiced, and I already made profit. I am making mad profit today.
You're making mad profit.
I am 0 cents richer from this 1.33 outvoiced. So you have to collect your tokens, though. So you have to collect them. I don't think they expire at this point, but I collected it there. Now it got added to my balance. Now I have 3,740 voice tokens to do whatever I please with them. And then I'll get another 100 every day that I claim just like this.
And one thing I noticed, obviously, because I'm clicking through screen share, there's a laggard delay. But when you click, the actual the interface and the experience or the UX is actually really, really fast. Like I'm guessing I'm even seeing slightly at a delay. So when you're clicking, it's instant.
Someone wanted to see the weight loss section. Yeah, like this isn't even all crypto. Like people were legitimately trying to be experts.
Nano Vacation Tiny Home. That's awesome. Those tiny homes are really cool. If you haven't checked them out, check them out.
Yeah, so
31 million Americans influenza this year.
Looks like no one's reading all these low voice posts. Yeah, so there's also the filter here. So you can filter by most active, most recent, most commented, most liked, most voiced. And I don't remember the post because I've gone through so many, but I've been reading through the comments. So one of the coolest things about voice so far is how active Block.one has been with replying and commenting.
Yeah, can you show that?
Yeah, let's
just go to some. I heard that the Block.one staff is like, obviously they're probably encouraged and they're probably really excited. They've been working on this product for a very long time, or their colleagues have. Yeah, I heard that they're very active.
Elam Her actually put a good post. Where's his? Hold on. Had to do with eBay right here. This is actually a really good idea, Elam Her. He basically said like like this post is done. The winning voice was Johnny Lee Ellsworth. I can't click on that and see like the bid history like this. It would be wonderful to see like who bid and who outbid the next person, how much they bid for. So that was like a feature request that he had. I'll listen to him.
We should like that. But I agree with Elam. I know Elam. He's an awesome guy. He used to work with us for a while. That's awesome. Even Dan said, look, I want to see this too.
Yeah. So this is what I mean. Dan is like replying to everything. Ted Cahill, the executive vice president of Block.one, just hanging out. Mark Woods,
just hanging out.
One of the top product managers at Block.one. I think I don't know who this guy is, but I think he works at Block.one by how frequently I'm seeing him like people's posts. But yeah, Ted, like we were talking about cats before, he's been posting about cats frequently. This is a very much, we need a pets or a cats tag. But this is what I mean. Like, it's amazing feedback, and it's just like a great community. Like, I love communities. Like, EOS aside, like, yeah, they're not on the EOS mainnet yet. It's beta. It's not feature complete. It's what we expected, but it is a complete community. Like, I know there's going to be more people in it, but like, I'm very fulfilled by using this platform. I'm enjoying the content that I'm reading. I'm enjoying the comments. I'm seeing other people get feedback on. I was pleased with the feedback I got on my own.
What's your favorite feature? Like, what's your favorite thing? Because I've been reading a lot about, good thing, bad thing, the gamification aspect of it.
For sure. It's going to be totally addictive. You figure there's eventually going to be like thousands of these channels, and nobody's actually going to look at all of them. You're just going to go to the ones you're interested in. I might go to like an EOS one eventually. I might go to a Cats one eventually. I might go to like a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, Pittsburgh Penguin fan. Like, just think of it like Reddits and subreddits. Yeah. And there's probably going to be one of those for every one of them. But there's this incentivization, so the best content will go to the top. And there's also ways that you could even if you're not a writer, just finding good content early, you're incentivized to do so. Like, this could be something I just waste time on all day, just making voice tokens just by liking content.
Perhaps.
Right now there's probably less than 1,000 people on voice, and I'm making that guess because Dan, I'll end the share screen for a little bit. We'll let people see us again. Way!
Woo!
Dan Larimer has 200 people listening to him. So I'm assuming he's the most popular person, but I don't think everyone's listening to him. So that's
don't think so. So people are enjoying voice and not listening to Dan?
Yeah, I guess.
20%? That's your guess? 20? I would think then that it's probably less than 1,000. I would think that there's a higher percentage than 20% of people joining voice, and in the first few days, either not knowing how to go and follow people, and so there's probably a percentage there, and or not wanting to follow Dan. Yeah, I would say then there's probably closer to 500, like 40%. It's my guess.
Yeah, probably. But a big reason is, so let me just throw this out there. If anyone's in the US, you took the beta survey and you still have not gotten your invite, check your spam folder.
Check your spam, man. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened to me. Is Valentine's Day. I'm just like, my wife comes home at like 6 p.m. So I'm just like, oh man, I hope I get this invite at like lunchtime. So I have like a few hours to play around on it before like my wife gets home. But then I like didn't get it. Then it's like 5:30 p.m. and I finally see people saying, check your spam folder. I checked my spam folder. I finally got it.
And for those as well, like people who say, yeah, but it shouldn't go in spam because I got all the other instructions and all the other emails in my regular box. Most people got them in their regular inbox, and still the actual invite went in the spam folder.
That was why I didn't even check the spam folder, because I was like, well, I've been getting like an email every single day from Block.one or from Voice, and I knew they're hitting my inbox. And then all of a sudden, the sign up email did not go to my inbox.
I'm just excited to actually have conversations with real people. You can imagine on some days in my, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, I get hundreds of people, asking to friend me or something like that. And what I've noticed is that oftentimes what happens is one bot gets in, and then it just signals all the other bots, hey, this person's actually letting in bots. And now I remember at some point in Facebook, I was getting like 150, 200 requests per day. And so one of the things that I'm most excited about is actually having conversations with real people. I want to have conversations with real people. I don't want to waste my time having a conversation with a bot, which I'm sure I've done in the past. So for me, that's one of the greatest things about voice, is knowing that on the other end, there's a real person who's willing to stand behind whatever position they want to have. And so I think that's going to be one of the most interesting features for me, knowing that there's real people behind those accounts.
100%. And while talking about like the Voice It game, it was my first reaction too, and I think I saw it in the chat here, is people could just create scripts to, like, I'm saying how like I'm looking for Dan posts and voicing them.
Yep.
So people could do scripts, but how much could you really abuse that before it gets detected? So you have one identity, and there's like strict ground rules. Like on Friday, the people that couldn't get into voice on their own, they were kind of reading through the ground rules, and some people didn't like them.
Which are standard ground rules. Go check Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah, and the number one rule of voice is that voice is a home for edifying, and thoughtful compositions. It is not a place for sexy time fun. That's the #1 rule of voice, people.
Who came up with that actual wording? That's what I want to know. Who uses the term sexy time? So other than Borat, I've never heard of sexy time before. I'm interested. Actually, whoever's listening right now, working for Block.one, you got to out yourself. Just tell me who's used the word sexy time. I'll voice that. I'll actually go and give you some funds when I get my voice account.
So this was the post on Friday. So it was triggered by Colin Talks Crypto, just explaining how this moderation is not scalable. He makes a good point. These are a lot of rules, and like we know, Facebook has a team of like probably thousands that moderate content. So I don't know how that will be scalable. But one good thing that came out of this conversation is Dan said, as content is posted, anyone can mirror it like Steam. You could host any content we have to take down. All takedown is transparent and accountable. So imagine a team like EOS Nation had on the EOS Mainnet, just basically replicating the voice chain, so that even if Block.one were to delete a post and prune it from their database, it would still be openly available on the public network or any other EOS.io chain people would want to mirror this to. So in that sense, it can be censorship resistance. It's just not going to be on Voice's blockchain, but it could be on anyone else's blockchain. And to go back to that, Dan, one of his first posts is a big thank you from the Voice team, and he gave some insights. Basically said how they had to go through GDPR and SEC. And I'll just read this outright. For those outside the Voice team, you should know that the minimal interface you see today is just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, there is a robust infrastructure involving 2 blockchains, one for securing personal information and another that will eventually be made public. Designing Voice to be compliant with GDPR required extensive care to enable all text and images to be pruned from our servers while still allowing cryptographic validation of all content. We build a robust system for content addressable storage that works behind the scenes to ensure that all content from our servers is rendered on your screen with cryptographic integrity. So that tells us a lot in that mouthful. It tells us that there's 2 blockchains. We knew this is multi-chain. One's private, has private data, and then one's public that could be mirrored by any public EOS.io chain. Anyone could probably write a smart contract that could use an oracle, maybe a liquid oracle, that could mirror the Voice chain once it's public, which it should be public soon, hopefully. And then from there, you could just mirror it onto any blockchain you want. It's going to be censorship resistant because if Block.one deletes it, it's still there. User data is private. I don't know how that's going to work, but maybe there will be a way to like make your data portable. So this private data, what if it becomes portable and interoperable with other voice-like platforms? Because at the end of the day, I think Voice is just going a client, one of many clients that we're going to see. And it'd be great if you could have a portable profile that you could whether bring it completely with you or just mirror it to somewhere else. But
well, the analogy that I liked a while back was, and they kind of hinted at this. So I'm just speculating at this point. I don't know if that's really the case. But once I submit my KYC data, after a period of time, there's no need really for them or whoever to actually hold on to my data anymore. So it can be deleted. So the analogy that I liked a while back was, when you're going into a club, you're going to a bar or something like that, and somebody, the bouncer at the door is checking your ID. Once you're in the club, you got your stamp on your hand. Your ID is never checked ever again. And so you could actually, throw out, you could lose your ID. It doesn't matter because you've got that stamp of approval. So once you're on Voice and you've effectively just said that you are a real person, that data can be deleted. But now the fact that you've got a Voice account can be used as KYC for something else. So I could potentially build an application and look to see whether or not you have a Voice account, link it through a cryptographic hash. And if you indeed have a Voice account, then I now can make the assumption that you've gone through the KYC process and use that as my KYC without ever actually having access to your data. So I can see that this is kind of just a stepping stone to what other applications will be able to leverage in getting, rid of bots, whatever, on their applications or on their platforms.
All right. We were all over the place today. I think people enjoyed it.
We were.
We have 80 people live right now. Thank you to all 80
That's
people
awesome. Yeah,
in
thank
this
you.
chat. This is amazing. But I just wanted to point this out. I think you hit on it. I tweeted this out the other day, and basically they said they're talking about the KYC, how it requires KYC. And they said, in fact, just like media, we think that verification needs a rework too. Patience, we're working on it. And we know they're working on it because we've seen their identity patent. We have a pretty good idea of how it's going to work. I personally wanted it to be there for day one of the beta, but that's okay. I know for 100% fact it's being worked on. But the other piece of this is the other highlighted is that it says that the KYC data is deleted after a period of time. And it's also being done by a third party. So Block.one, I don't even know if they have access to it.
Typically, they would not. So typically, I mean, we at EOS Nation did a similar thing where KYC provider would look at your information. We never have access to it, but what we had was a hash from that KYC provider that proves that you did the KYC. So I know that you've done KYC. I know that they have your information, but I never have access to your information.
So then, I mean, you're right. What was that KYC provider called? I forget.
Altcoinomy.
Yeah,
so it was for the DApp, the DApp token cell, and actually the text token cell as well.
Yeah, I remember it from the checks. What was I going to pull up here? I had one more thing I wanted to pull up that I'm super bullish about, and that is what they're doing at Voice post beta launch. So I found this on LinkedIn. For those who follow this show, you know that I regularly pull up the careers page on Block.one because it's always giving you insight on what their next steps are. But these jobs weren't posted on Block.one. They're posted on LinkedIn, and they're actually being promoted posts on LinkedIn. So all these positions, I'm looking at the VP of Communications for Voice. They're hiring all new executive teams, and it's in, where does it say? I saw it somewhere. It said Brooklyn. So this one says New York City. I've seen other ones.
New York City metropolitan area.
There's already 163 applicants for the VP of Communications. They obviously have a job description. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but they clearly state well-funded, which we
are a well-funded startup. Yeah, this is a huge advantage. I think one of our founders, Steph, wrote a Twitter post a while back talking about how Block.one is uniquely positioned in the crypto space and the advantage that we gave them throughout the token sale. The fact that they are well funded and they're able to really focus on the product and they don't have to pander to try and get more funding is huge. Yeah. It just means that they can put their head down, they can work without having to hype anything. They're well funded. That's extremely important. We've given them a superpower. They're good for a period of time. So we know that they'll be able to actually work on products and work on designs and really improve or work on the vision that they're trying to fulfill, that they're trying to put out there for a sustained period of time. That's huge.
And it's in New York City. So let's just think about their offices. Like we knew about Hong Kong, we knew about Blacksburg.
Yeah.
The Arlington office is huge.
Washington.
Washington, D.C. Arlington office. It's huge. I met a lot of the people that work out of that office. They just hired a director of education. They're building out a full certification program and speccing out like the scope of that thing. They're working with the community. I know for a fact that there's probably like 5 or 6 teams in Washington, D.C. or Arlington this week giving feedback on EOS.io to Block.one. Pretty much if you know a block producer team that's probably doing enterprise work, they're probably part of that group because that's what the focus is on. Like we talked about that blockchain replacing database post that Dan made. That's where they're headed. And Voice is going to be that example of that enterprise application. If you're going to an enterprise as a software developer and you're trying to like convince them that they should build on EOS.io, they're going to say, okay, what else is built on EOS.io? And you could say, oh, there's this Voice thing. We could show it to you. It's got 1 million users or however many users it has a couple months from now, and just show like this is scalable and it's ready.
It's not even just what do you have, is if I wanted to build an enterprise, how would I build it? So I don't have another example of how to build a large scale enterprise on a blockchain or using or leveraging the blockchain. Well, look, here you go. Here's the architectural blueprint for how you would want to build an application of scale, a large scale enterprise application leveraging blockchain. Here you go. We've got one as a flagship product and it's being used. And here, you know, if people have concerns of, well, is it scalable? Can it handle the transaction throughput? Blah, 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 blah. All of that, you're able to use your own product as an example. And it's a real life product. People understate or underestimate the power of having something run live with actual human interaction, because how it behaves on a testnet or how theoretically it should behave versus how it does behave in the wild, completely different things.
Phoenix just asked, I'm answering like all of Phoenix's questions. What do you see as the role mainnet will have for future applications like voice? I'll let you answer this because I got to look something up that ties into this.
I've got my ideas, so it's a really good question because I spent a lot of time thinking about this. For me, I think that mainnet will play a role in the settlement layer because of the liquidity of the EOS token. You know, being one of the most liquid tokens out there, as well as the identity layer. So if I want to have an account, having the account on the mainnet is worth something, and having access to that liquidity on the mainnet and doing that settlement layer on the mainnet is worth something. What I mean by the settlement layer is if I'm going to have any value attached to a particular token, I want that value personally, this is just me, I want that value to be decentralized. So I might not care if my likes are decentralized or there maybe the like is on a private server or is on a private permission chains. But what I want though is that the value, my asset, I want that to be decentralized. I want that to be on the mainnet. So I think that those two things, the identity layer and the settlement layer, would be attached to the mainnet. But again, just my guess on what I think is going to happen. And just that alone requires, if we're talking about scaling an application, and we're going back to the first part of the show with flooding conditions, if you've got something like voice running in the background, even just doing those two functions, we're talking about still a massive amount of transactions. And so when Block.one said a while back, you know, we need the mainnet to be performance and governance ready, yeah, even with just those two functions, we need the mainnet to be able to handle some massive throughput. And the mainnet is moving in that direction, as shown that is able to I guess have the consensus mechanisms to be able to improve and make modifications on a snap of a dime multiple times a day if required.
I'm trying. Peter K made this application that I don't think we've even talked about publicly yet, and it's probably not even going to work here. But this is one of the ideas that I see for voice on not just a mainnet, but it could be on any chain. So this is like a work in progress. It's probably not even going to work, but it's something we built with Dappiness on Dapp. It's called Mysaic. And what it is it basically lets you upload images to create like a mosaic, basically. You could upload images to it. But what's unique about it is you could log in from any blockchain that, well, a couple blockchains. We have Ethereum, EOS, Tron, and IOST. Plus, you can create a liquid account. Or so if I'm on EOS right now, I could use a scatter wallet. But if I was on like IOST, I'd have these two wallets. But whatever. I'm just gonna use the liquid account because I don't want you guys to see my wallet names. So once you're in here, I'm logged in using my liquid account. I'm going to upload an image. And then what it allows you to do is it allows you to store the hash. So it's going to pin this image to IPFS, and then it lets me decide where I want to store the hash to that image. I could store it on any blockchain that I want. But on the client here, which is Mysaic, it's querying all of the blockchains and looking for all of the pin posts that are made here. So you could basically store the proof on whatever blockchain you want. So there's no, like, you don't have to be a maximalist. You could use, this is a multi-chain app. It's really a work in progress, and I don't think it's going to work here, but that's essentially what it does. And eventually there could be incentivization models in there where maybe you got to like outbid people or pay a little bit or have a leaderboard of what blockchain has the most images uploaded. It's really not going to work. It's very much a work in progress. And this is why we haven't shared it publicly yet. But that's the concept, is it lets you basically store an IPFS and post your hash to any different blockchain. And I could very easily see that being something with voice, is maybe you want to store your hashes or proofs to somewhere else, or you want to mirror your private data to a different blockchain that they can't censor. We saw that voice and Block.one could essentially ban you if they want to. They could delete your account. But what if you had a mirror of that account, or like a hash, or like I don't know exactly what it would be, but a way that even if Block.one were to ban your account, you still have your all of your information associated with your account, all of your images you ever uploaded, all of your posts you've ever made. You could have that completely mirrored on any blockchain using like an IPFS stored data. I don't know how the voice one works. It has content addressable storage, but I'm not sure if it's IPFS. But I could see them allowing it to be multi-blockchain. Just a shot in the dark. I can't wait to show that Mysaic app when it actually works. It's probably a little early to be showing that off. But.
So I'm just reading the contents here, and I see I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but I guess MS Cavs fan. So Mrs. Cavs fan, perhaps. I think sometimes we forget how much RAM B1 owns. This is a very, very good point. So when I talk about accounts and the identity layer being on the mainnet, they've got 32 gigs worth of RAM. That buys a lot of accounts for people. All right. Mm-hmm. And why would you want an account on the mainnet? Well, maybe because of that settlement layer. Maybe at some point you want to have that particular function tied to your account. So that's kind of where I'm going with that as well. It's a very good observation, Mrs. Cavs fan. Or I think it's Miss Cavs fan. MS Cavs fan.
I think we went through all the topics, Eve. I think we've been going. People are loving this, though. We still got 77 people with us.
77 people. This is awesome. Thank you very much for joining in. This is great.
Something else cool, man. I'm just like, I'm going through all my stuff that I didn't think we were going to talk about. I thought this was really cool. It's a promoted post. So this is on Twitter. Cheney Moore shared this with me, a screenshot. That Voice is running ads on Twitter. So I'm assuming that they're running them everywhere, probably on Facebook too. So that's good. I mean, something so obvious, but like, if you don't see it, you don't know that they're doing it. We saw that they're running ads on LinkedIn for hiring employees. Like, that's something so common, but it's just nice to see it. And I think sometimes people, when morale's down, they just need reminded of it. There's so much going on.
Yeah, and it gives you an insight in potentially what they're working on, like you said, and you're really good at that. You go and check to see. You're like the perfect stalker. You go and see what it is they're hiring for, and it really gives you an insight on what they're building, right? And then you go see on who they hired and where they worked, and you can then make the link on, maybe there's going to be these partnerships, or maybe it's going to integrate that kind of function.
Exactly.
It's awesome for that. Awesome for that.
They actually just got a new careers page. I'm pulling it up now to see if there's anything.
Oh, new careers page. I know that they're hiring quite a bit of people, and that the team is growing consistently. And I think that the right approach for them and what they've been doing is they hired, and people kind of gave them flack for this. They started hiring at a very slow pace. But they were working out their HR systems. They're working out what kind of people they want to hire. You don't want to, hiring somebody is extremely complicated is not the right word. It's a tedious process to hire somebody, and investing a lot of time in hiring people to then only let them go is a waste of time. And so taking your time to hire the right people and then scaling accordingly is part of your foundations that you want to get right the first time. And we saw that Block.one was slow at the onboarding. It took a while before they, started building that team, but they got the right people in place, and now we're seeing the speed at which now they're hiring people, which is just amazing. The level of work that Block.one is doing behind the scenes cannot be underestimated. Cannot be, is that the right word? Sometimes I get these French kind of brain farts. Cannot be understated. Cannot be understated. The level of work that they're doing, the amount of work that they're doing that you just don't get to see. I get a glimpse of it as a block producer. Zack gets a glimpse of it from his perspective and from his point of view where he's coming from. Everybody gets kind of these little snippets, and when you combine all of that together, ridiculous amounts of work's going on at Block.one. I'm super bullish.
Mm-hmm. Someone just asked if I'm going to...
And not be overstated. Thank you very much, Chuck.
So that's the problem with these live streams with the timestamps. I am not going to go watch this live stream again. So I just want to put out a bounty here. I will pay, what's EOS at today? I'll pay $20 of EOS to whoever wants to do timestamps on this article. First person to message me, first person that messages me on Telegram at Blockchain Zack with a full list of topics and timestamps from this video, I will send $20 equivalent of EOS. So that's just, awesome. Because I think we're going to need it. We went through so much stuff here. that'd be very useful, I think.
So you're gonna send 20 EOS with $20 worth of EOS to whoever timestamps the whole video first. I'll match that. So whoever does that, and I won't be part of the process. So whoever Zack decides gets the $20, I'll match that. You're gonna get $40 worth of EOS.
But you got to be first. So if you're working on it,
you got to be first. Yeah.
If you're working on it, like just message me and say like, hey, I'm working on it. Please reserve it. And if you're friends with me, then I'll probably just give you the benefit of the doubt. But this bounce, yeah, just check with me. I don't want someone to do a bunch of work and not do it. So just message
Don't measure
me.
in fiat. Don't measure in fiat. I just match whatever Zack does.
All right.
So whatever Zack's doing, I'll match.
For EOS. So
80 EOS case, I'll match. So you're gonna get 80 EOS total, whatever that's worth right now.
My math, you might have got screwed there, but sorry guys. Hopefully it goes up. All right. I think we got to close out here. Unless you want to keep going. Our crowd's dying down. We're down to 73. We're losing momentum.
No, we're losing. Okay, I think it's time to go out on a high. This is really good. Thank you very much for inviting me. I love the energy. I just like talking about EOS. I wake up. I'm super passionate about this ecosystem. For those who don't know, like folks at EOS Nation, we don't get paid. We put everything back in the ecosystem, and it's been like that for 2 years and more. And so we're just really passionate about this. We want to see this for the long term. We're fortunate enough to be able to do this. Like this is not something that everybody can do. We are able to do it, and we just love doing it. Basically, I wake up every morning with very few hours worth of sleep. Like I said earlier, like 3 hours, 4 hours last night, and I just love doing this. This is awesome. I'm so happy to be able to be part of this ecosystem, this community. And then being able to share it with Zack as well is awesome. Like other people that clearly are so passionate about this, it makes my day. Like this is just awesome.
That's how the show got started. I mean, it was me and Rob, like these passionate conversations, like even I just had for the last hour and a half. We were having these every day in the office at ICO like 2 years ago, and we just started recording it for the podcast. This is exactly what Yves and I did. Yves woke up. This whole call started at 8 a.m. your local time. And
yeah, like 7:45 actually. I went to bed at 4:30 last night.
We didn't have a lot of prep. Like I had some notes put together, but like I knew that we were just going to be able to wing this thing. And when I say wing it, I mean in the best way possible, because I knew we we're just so passionate and knowledgeable that this is just like a conversation that we could just as easily have had in private, but we had it in public for all of you to enjoy. Yeah. I hope you guys gained a lot from it. I hope everyone who hasn't gotten their voice beta or who is not in the United States and that doesn't really have a timeline on it, I hope you're able to enjoy some of this today. I'll probably come back in another couple of days or a week and do some more voice feedback. Maybe do like a round table, bring Peter K and James Mart on to give feedback on voice. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Until next time, I'm Zack Gall.
I'm Yves La Rose.
And this is Everything EOS.
Everything EOS. Go EOS! Go EOS! We got to work on that one.
Leave a comment and see you guys next time.
Subscribe. Peace out.